Hey, so Nathan Olsen here with the Third Knock podcast. I have Josh Hook here as my guest, and I'll let him introduce himself, tell you a little bit about what he does.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Name's Josh Hook. Run a digital marketing agency for now a little over 10 years. It's called Hooked It Up. We focus on primarily local business websites, SEO, and various online reputation reviews, things of that nature.
Awesome, awesome. So we've spoken over the years on Facebook and things, but we've never actually spoken in person until today.
Here we are.
So here we are. Very good. I mean, we do similar things, obviously. You're in Heber, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and I am in Orem, Utah, obviously.
Stone's throw away.
Yep, exactly. So personally, I'll do anything as long as you have enough money. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So yeah, basically, like I said, most of the episodes, podcast is about inspiring people to chase their dreams. Don't know what that is for everyone has their own. Some are realtors, some are SEO people, website design, some are electricians and and plumbers and all those things. When you have to go out on your own or you decide to, we generally have a why. So like most guests, why did you decide to go out on your own?
Yeah, so my why, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version of kind of my story of how I even landed here in Heber, of all places. Most of you guys, if you don't know Heber, it's a quite smaller town, especially 8 years ago when I moved out here. Never had visited Utah one day in my life, moved from Los Angeles. So how I landed in Heber, and we won't go too far into the personal side of things, but back in LA, I was dating a gal that we got engaged. 2 weeks later, got married. 2 weeks later, moved to Heber. So within a month's period, I became a stepdad to two almost teenagers, a husband, and living in a state that I had no idea how I was going to support a family. Crazy stuff. And
For
so,
sure.
long story short, about a year in or so, the marriage wasn't working out. Lo and behold, we separated and signed papers, and we found out she was pregnant. And so, a little bit, I'm an open book. Little backstory into my personal life as we went through an abortion process with my daughter, not by my decision, but luckily, in the process of it, my ex realized she was making a mistake, and so we ended up reversing the process, which had us in and out of the hospital pretty much throughout the whole pregnancy. And, I was working kind of blue collar jobs at the time, moving here, not really having any foundation from my business prior in California. And really just, as she obviously survived, made it through, and I had a little baby girl of my own, I was like, you know what? I don't want to miss this opportunity of being at work constantly while she grows up. That was my story. That was my story, pardon me, growing up. And so I didn't want that same thing for her. And I was like, look, I've got some skill sets in this small town that I wouldn't have survived in LA, but I could definitely do it here in Heber, and went after it shortly before COVID. And I've been doing that ever since. So my why is really my now 6.5-year-old baby girl. Her name's Hope. And man, she's why I get up every morning and just go after it and just help local small to medium-sized business owners achieve their dreams.
That is awesome. Yeah. Miracle, man. Miracles.
Yeah.
Maybe some of it was bad. Like, we've talked before, we've shared some bad experiences. But
Yep.
in the end, miracles, things that did go wrong. There was things that went right. Like you said, you ended up with your baby girl, and that's amazing.
Yep.
And just for people to, just so you know, 8 years ago, Heber, like you said,
Very
we're
different.
talking like, way different world than LA. You come here, our wages, even now, are
Oh yeah.
extremely behind all other states. And our pricing now is
Oh
practically more. There was places in California I could move that is cheaper than living
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And our jobs are like, still a lot of them are paying $10, $15 an hour. That's not abnormal here, just so everybody knows. It
Yeah.
really isn't.
Well, and Heber even pays a little bit more because of how
Right.
high the cost of living is here. And
And
so,
close to Park City. And
yep, you've
right.
got a lot of,
But
we employ a lot of Orem and like Provo residents that
right.
come out here because they actually make a little bit more.
Right, even with the drive time and back and
Yeah.
forth. Right. I know lots of people that used to work in Park City. They drive to Park City every day back and forth.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's crazy to move here, never been here. And it's a
Oh,
different
dude.
world. It really is a different world, especially compared to California.
Oh, it
Night
is.
night and day differences between the two states.
Well,
Uh,
and my only reference when making that move is I pulled up Google Maps and I saw that the Walmart had just barely been built.
oh,
And I was like, all right, you know what? If I'm stuck in a snowstorm out in Heber, I know I don't have to go far for toilet paper. I
that
think we can do this. And that
that
was
was the
the decision.
that was the determining factor.
That was the determining factor. I'm like, I can do this.
They have a Walmart. That's all that matters. Yeah. My family comes from a little small town, Mount Pleasant, Utah,
Oh
and
yeah.
they had a grocery store and a gas station. And now they have a Subway, and I think they might have a Domino's Pizza, and
Only two places to
and there's
eat.
like maybe three gas stations now, and they have stoplights now, which is kind of crazy. But so it's kind of crazy because it's like, oh, I could probably, before COVID and everything, I was like, I was deciding, should I go move back to a small town because things even in Utah have been getting a little bit crazier than they ever were.
Yeah,
And I'm like, and my kids, I wanted them to experience fishing outdoors and things. And so I was
totally.
thinking about moving out, and I'm like, well, with Amazon now, you don't really even need a Walmart.
So true. So true.
But I think my kids would probably kill me. So that's kind of off the table now, to a degree.
Right.
To a
You
degree.
mentioned stoplight. So I don't know if you know this story, and I know we're kind of digressing into more personal life rather than focus on business necessarily, but there was a stoplight that actually was put in town due to my stepson getting hit by a van
Oh
at a
man.
crosswalk, and he was in like critical condition, was in the hospital, and we weren't even sure if he was going to make it. He ended up being on the news all throughout Utah. It was this big thing, but
I
just
think I
shows you
vaguely
again the growth of Heber. We're literally responsible for a stoplight here in
Yeah,
town.
I vaguely remember the story. I didn't know that they were related to you, but yeah, I,
Yeah.
I vaguely remember that was like what, 8 years ago or 10?
No, no, this was only maybe 3 years ago tops.
Okay, my time frame is horrible. My kids will tell me something. I'm like, that was only last year, and they're like, Dad, that was before COVID.
Right,
And
right.
I'm like, you're right. Like, no, once you get to a certain
Whoops.
age, yeah, certain age, I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, we're looking at cars, and I'm like, 2018 isn't that old. Like, and I'm like, wait a
Son,
minute.
I promise you I'm listening.
Yeah, it's like, no, that isn't. That's pretty old. That's a pretty old vehicle. Like, I try to pretend that it isn't. Just that I don't want to.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, no, I think personal and business goes hand in hand because a lot of us we want to be entrepreneurs because we want to be able to have more control. Like we talked
Absolutely.
to before we started this,
Yep.
having to request time off with jobs. It seems like you would think you were asking them for like a $10,000 bonus or something. They're like, I'm serious. They're like,
What are
"Wait
you
a
gonna
minute.
give me?
Yeah, you want Christmas off for real?
We'll
Everybody wants
exchange
Christmas off.
for your right arm, okay?
Yeah, and then I'd have had jobs for real to where I'd get it off, and then I'm at work, and they're like, "Do you remember we gave you Christmas off?" Like,
You're like, that was in 1997. It's
Yeah, and
2016.
yeah, exactly. It's like you gave me Christmas off. You didn't give me paid Christmas off. You didn't do anything for me. You just said I didn't have to work that day. Like, yeah. That stuff drove me nuts. And then
Yeah.
the same thing with wages. It's like you can ask for something, and it's like even little wages. As an example, when I delivered pizzas, I wanted a raise, and they wouldn't give me a 35-cent an hour raise. And that's why I ended up going and becoming a plumber and doing what I did. But it was like 35 cents. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and even back then, and I was only making like 5 something, almost minimum wage at the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I only wanted a 35-cent raise. All my money came from tips anyway,
Right.
that's just the way it is.
Yep.
But it would be nice to make a little bit more, show that you guys appreciate how hard I work. I'm the one of the,
Mhm.
but no, 35 cents was too much. So it's
Well,
just
and,
crazy.
and that's the thing in a lot of, industries, especially within like a delivery thing is, we're replaceable. They can go and hire anyone else. Like with what you and I do, which we're experts in what we do and we're confident in what we do with SEO. Sure, you might be able to find someone else out there, but is this someone from India that's charging, an eighth of what we're charging and then really doesn't even give you any reports at the end of the month? So you really have no idea where your money's going, and that's the beauty of like being able to really hone down into an industry, into a niche, know what you're doing, and be able to demand your value. Look, these are my rates. You can pay me or you can go move on to someone else. And I'm sure you're this happens to you quite a bit where I'll have a consultation with someone, they'll be kind of on the fence. Things will go great, but they'll end up going in a different direction. And I'll very respectfully kind of warn them, like, okay, well, I hope this isn't one of those situations where things don't go well. You end up coming back because guess what? Now you're going to be more in the hole than you were before because my rates aren't going to change and we're going to start right where we left off. And a good 50% of the time or not, I would say that probably happens. And they know the expectations because we already had the conversation. And it's kind of that like, I know you told me, let's move forward, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, it's awesome being able to make your own decisions as a business owner, running your own business. It's not, saying yes to every single thing, your boss is telling you, even though you're like, man, this just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, no, I get it a lot. I'm not a salesperson, so if number one, I don't ever try to change anybody's mind.
Mm,
My mom was a realtor, extremely good realtor. She had, I mean, in her garage, she probably has 30, 40 awards. She doesn't think she's
nice.
special in any way, but she is. I mean, almost every company she ever worked for, she sold more homes than all the others realtors combined. And she always just said, just try to help them. That's
Yep.
the philosophy. If my I look out for what they're looking for. If they're looking for a home that has this and this, and they're concerned about these things, I try to get them as close to possible to what they're looking for and make their dream come true. And that's all she did. And I'm going, so why can't I do that?
Yeah.
So so when I'm talking to somebody, I'm not trying to talk them into anything. You're telling me this is what you want to do. Here's the blueprint. This is how we accomplish that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the times, I don't know why, probably because I'm not a salesperson. Um, they sometimes go a different route.
Mm-hmm.
But a good share of the time, I hear from them again, probably a year, maybe 2 years later. And
Yep.
then they're like, hey, Nate, you were absolutely right. This other company, they took me for pretty much everything. And now I'm stuck with this busted website and everything's broken. And
Yep.
I should have just listened to you. And I'm not always right. I'm not trying to portray that.
Yeah. Same
But
here.
but
Same here.
but a lot of times they come back and they're like, we should have listened to you and we should have went with that. I thought I could save a couple bucks
Yep.
or whatever the reasoning be. These other people were more confident on camera. Once again, like I said, I lack that because of social anxiety. I'm getting better. But because of that, that comes off that you don't know what you're talking about sometimes. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand
I can
that.
see
I
that.
get it. So yeah, it's crazy. But when they come back, now it's like, oh, you have the client you wanted. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to be. I've learned I don't want to be the first SEO or the first marketer. I want to be after
Totally.
them. I don't want to
Yep.
be the first guy because you're setting all the precedents. You're setting
Yep.
all the, everything, the expectation. You're setting everything, and you'll knock it out of the water, and they don't know it
They
because
have
they've
no
never
idea.
worked with
Yep.
anyone else. So the
Yep.
same thing can happen there too, to where you were killing it, you're doing great for them, but the grass is greener on the other side, and then they go hire someone else, and then they come back because the
Yep.
grass isn't greener. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, I always kind of consider that almost the double sell, kind of like with the marketing element is I don't want a client that's never marketed before because I got to sell them on why they need to market. And then once I got them sold there, I got to sell them on why they should choose me. I just want to sell them once. Like you've marketed before, you understand the value, you know you need it. Let me tell you why I think I'm the right choice for you. Boom, let's go.
Exactly. But it gets tricky sometimes.
It
And it's
does. Absolutely
it's
does.
it's silly though, but yeah, like I said, I don't want to ever be the first. I try to actually be like, maybe you should try some gigs first, even Fiverr is the devil sometimes. That's what people
Totally
say
is.
online, but that's not coming from me. Don't sue me, please. But some people think that,
Disclaimer.
but I still will advise some people to some gigs of just say setting the foundation. You can at least have people build out your socials. You still need to go through. You
Yeah.
still need to update your photos and your banners, and usually, unless you find a good person, a good gig,
Yeah.
sometimes they'll even do a good job on that. But ultimately, they're just building foundations. They're not
Yeah.
building you backlinks. Don't ever but fall for that stuff for sure. A lot of the
Yeah.
times that's hurts you more than it helps you on Fiverr for sure.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
there are things on there that you can buy, graphics and things that are, get your toes wet, then hire a marketer. So you're not
Right.
going in and going, because when people come to me, I'm like, where's your brand kit? Let's see your logo. Let's see your colors. because I'm colorblind too, so that makes my job.
Oh man, you really got it bad.
so I'm colorblind with red and green, so that's almost every color.
Yeah, that's my dad. My dad's that way too. I mean, I remember a point, it was kind of more of a joke, but he was like, "What color's the stoplight?" Or what color? It's like, oh no.
My kids give me crap sometimes. My daughter's like, "Well, how do you know when to stop? How do you know this?" It's like, have you ever noticed that the stop sign has a certain shape? There's a reason for that.
Yeah, right.
Also, I know the color because that's the color I see, so I know that I've associated it as stop.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm using a color dropper. So yeah, I'm always, one of my first things always is like, where's your brand kit? And
Yeah.
they're like, what's a brand kit? You
Yep.
know, your logo, your colors, your fonts, and so I like it when they already have those things done, because I can't really recommend color very well because obviously, you know,
Yeah, that'd be a little bit of a struggle.
and sometimes it gets interesting. People are like, why did you do that pink? I thought it was blue.
Whoops.
But so yeah, it's great. I love coming in after they've already at least made up their mind, because like you said, otherwise it's like we're going back and forth on a color, going back and forth on a font, we're going back and forth on it, and man, that first month, and then they're like, why isn't anything happening? And you're like, I'm literally having to build the foundations because you didn't. And
Yep. Well, and that's why I love like redesigns versus an actual complete layout, because I mean, I know you don't do websites as much, but like the part of websites that I honestly can't stand is it's like pulling teeth getting content from clients. It's
yeah,
like, this is not my business. I don't know your business like you do. I can try my best, but you can't be mad at me when you've given me nothing and then I've put something together, but it's not at all what you expect. It's like, what do you want me to do when you gave me nothing?
yeah, and some clients are like that. Some clients
Yeah.
just want you to take the ball and run, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
In some scenarios, and
In
that's
some.
why everyone's like niche down, you know. It's
Yep.
like, because then, you know, like
Exactly.
I try to stick with attorneys because
Yep.
now I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I take a new client on, even though I've probably worked with almost any industry you can imagine. Even one time, I'm pretty sure it was an escort service. Once again, don't sue me. I refunded their money, I swear.
Just don't mention the name.
No, I ended up refunding her money. There was some indiscrepancies that were just, I mean, it was wild. They wouldn't give me access to basically they gave me like editor access or blog, like on the WordPress. I couldn't get into the back end. I couldn't get into the pages. And they're like,
no media library access.
They couldn't let me get into the database. They thought I was going to steal it or something. And so I was on the phone with her, and oh my gosh, she was yelling at this poor lady. She was crying. It was awful. It was awful. She kept her pimp plan strong, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I've had a few of those.
Oh man, I was like, but no, it was it was sold as something completely different to me over, you know, and I'm gullible like that. I don't, like I said, I have social skills a bit lacking. I've learned with age, but social skills and cues, you know, I heard you were into a friend. Like, you know, like, I'm like, I guess some people would do that, you know, they pay for a friend to go to the movie with them. This is what they told me. And I'm going, well, you know, that, I guess it makes sense. I don't know. I've heard of weirder things working. But then as I started to look through the site and asking for these accesses and the way they were responding, I'm like, no, this is not a rent a friend. This is, I guess it kind of is.
We weren't, but we are now.
Yeah, so that was a wild kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure it ended up resulting in one of my processing accounts actually getting shut down. Even though I refunded the money, it somehow attached me to them somehow or something. I don't know, because PayPal just shut me down with no explanation.
Oh,
worse
yeah.
than Google.
PayPal, I have actually had more hardships than like Stripe. I know some people have had some horror stories with Stripe, but every
processor I've heard horror stories from, you know. And it's true. Like, I get it, but PayPal just literally, they wouldn't give me an explanation. They held my money hostage, like all of my money. They locked it down, wouldn't let me. And they're telling me in 6 months you can access your funds. Like,
yeah.
What? And you want to tell me why? Like, what did I do? What happened? And they're like, don't know.
Yeah.
We don't see why. Just, but no, what a nightmare.
Brutal.
But I think that the only thing I could logically come up with that made sense is maybe it had something to do with that, because it was like months after. Maybe they had, I mean, they're doing something probably illegal anyway. And I don't know for sure. I'm just going off of, maybe they were 100% legit. I don't know. Hopefully.
I want a movie date every now and then. What
Yeah.
is this place? I want to go there.
Well, from what I heard, you don't go there. They fly them to you.
Oh wow. All right. Yeah, this sounds like an escort service to me.
Well, yeah, that was after the fact, and after I'd refunded the money, and I was on the phone, and I hear her yelling at this poor girl who's crying, saying she doesn't get on the plane, and I'm like, oh my god,
Oh
yeah.
man, wow.
Bullet dodged. Bullet
Oh,
dodged.
this
Refunded all-
podcast got juicy now.
couldn't have refunded the money sooner. But yeah, niching down or niching down, whatever the way you say it, that's another problem that I can't seem to
Yeah,
figure out.
niche.
I think one is like UK English and one's English,
Yep.
US English or something. But yeah, I think that's important because, like you said, if they don't want to give you anything, at least I understand the industry enough that I can quote law and I can quote what everything means and build out the content without their input.
Yeah.
'Cause some
Yeah.
people want that. Some people are just like, just here's the ball. It's your court. You run
Yep,
with it.
You're the expert.
Exactly. And then you have others that are like, I want to approve everything.
Ugh.
From the images to the content to the socials to the every little thing you do, I want to approve it all. And I don't mind either. Both clients are just fine. As long
Depends.
as they're willing to, right, it depends. As long as they're willing to get back to you. Because some of the ones that are like, I want to approve everything, they'll
Yeah, but
let
then they never
3 months
respond.
of work stack up, and then the only reason they're reaching out to you is because it's not going the way they'd hoped. And
Yep.
you're like, I'm waiting for 3 months of approvals. As
Yep.
soon as that goes in place, then in 3 months from there,
Yep.
you'll start to see results.
And also, as you know, business owners here, here's a little golden nugget for those of you listening that may not have their own business yet, but wants to start one. That's the importance of having good, strong contracts in place. Was just having a conversation with a buddy of mine who's got a business, and there was some expectations that were verbalized, but then things had drawn out so long that they exceeded like their web design contract. And so they actually ended up losing the website and didn't have access to it anymore. And they were like, but they said this, but they're doing that. And I explained, like, that's why you have solid contracts with all the expectations on both sides lined out so that it keeps both of us accountable, right? And that's really the importance of having really strong contracts for those of you guys starting businesses. Like, really make sure that you have that stuff in place to save you when you run into those kind of issues, because those things actually will help you in a court situation where you've got to go and retrieve your money from someone that's not paid you or something.
Yeah, for sure. You see that online all the time on social media, on forums. People are like, they hired me, they never paid me, and now they've ghosted me. And so, yeah, you either have strong contracts or you have a way to make sure that you don't get ripped off, or both. That's my advice. Do both. As an example, I prepay. I'm always prepay. You pay me, I do the work. And then we have clear expectations and things inside our CRM as well, to where it's listing out what we're doing, what we're working on, what we're waiting for from them.
Yep.
Those are all very important things. No matter what business you're in, it's important to
absolutely
lay that foundation. But yeah, so basically that's why I do it too. I'm sick of dealing with people, sick of dealing with all those things. That's why I started my family doing the things that I do.
Yep. We get to choose when we work, when we don't, when we sleep, when we don't.
Yep. I was kind of sold a pipe dream. I thought that it was going to be much different. Never worked so hard for another person in my life than I have for myself, because you realize that it's like, when you meet somebody who's been in business for a long time and they're on vacation or whatever, you envision that they're just running around having a great time all the time. They have all the money in the world.
Right.
And I thought that's how it was. And that's what started my chase, honestly. But even knowing what I know now, I would still do it again.
Yeah.
Because you do have more freedom.
Well, and I think the difference is too, if you go after and find what I wouldn't say necessarily love, because I think that that's a little bit exaggerated sometimes too. Like, I do love what I do, but not everybody really ends up going into something they love, but it's something that they like a lot, to where, working a miserable job that pays the same, it's much more fulfilling, and it doesn't really feel like you're necessarily always working. Like me, for example, I practically live here in this office. So that when I have my daughter, guess what? My phone's on on silent. You can get my voice AI. And then if there's emergency, you know what you need to do to get a hold of me and I'll be available. But like, you don't hit that red button unless it's an absolute emergency. And otherwise, I'm here grinding all day and night long. And next thing I know, I've been working on a project for 14 hours, haven't slept. You know, I do 2, 3 day benders sometimes here in my office because I'm just so into whatever I'm building. And it's really cool to just kind of step back and go like, I'm doing something that I'm enjoying that I've literally not slept for 2 or 3 days. And I like sleep, but I've literally worked on this project. And guess what? I'm getting paid to do this. How cool is that? And so I think that perspective changes a lot of things too.
Yeah, the whole if you love what you do, you'll never work a day of your life. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And marketing, I do feel that to a degree. I think in the past, I was probably much more passionate about it just because
Mm,
we change over time as
yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So there's things that I do love at my job, and then there's things that I absolutely hate doing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like, I hate this, but it's part of it. And like you said, I can dive into something. Some clients I'm paid by the hour. And
Yeah.
I'll literally look down and I'm like, I'm 20 hours into a 10-hour shift. They paid me for 10.
Exactly.
They paid me for
Exactly.
10. Here I am at 20. I just volunteered 10 hours of my life for nothing, but
Yep.
not for nothing, but for no pay.
Yeah. Well, and I try not to do those so much anymore because I've learned my time. Like we always have our own pros and cons and what we're good at, right? Like you, you were explaining your time. Like okay, I'm about 10 years off. Clearly, I don't have a good scale of how long it's been for this or that. I'm pretty good with that in general, but when it comes to work, I can think I've only worked 2 hours and it's been 10, right? And so I've learned like I can't usually charge hourly with something. And so I've learned to kind of know roughly what the time should be for certain things to package them so that I'm not like completely gypping myself
Right.
when I've really worked so many hours, and I should be getting paid for all that time, but I promised the client set hours, right? And I even wanted to circle back too into previous discussion of like, again, I'm hoping that this is valuable for the solopreneur or the person that's going out there trying to start a business that might be listening to this. But like you mentioning some of the things that you dislike about the business. So there's some things with my agency that we've offered certain things where I'm like, why do we offer this? I quite frankly cannot stand this. Why am I still offering it? So what I've done is I've either put someone in charge of that, as either an employee for us that literally focuses on that so that I'm not doing that as the business owner, or I've just gotten rid of things. And so I've done a little bit of both. I've shifted, but like that's another thing I think that's really important to, I guess, embrace as a business owner. When you're starting out, you want to do everything because you want to be able to make everything that you can, right? But
Yeah.
then you're holding yourself back doing all the work from getting more sales or going after more clients. And so you're not really making more. If you can really find a solid employee or someone that you can trust with something you can hand off to them and you can be a real boss, you can oversee them, make sure that they have everything that they need to be successful, and then look over them to get something done so that guess what? You can make more clients, more sales. And now you can afford to have that client not deal with the headache that they're actually being employed to take care of.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, I agree with that. And but like I said, everything changes too. You
It
gotta
does. It
in
does.
marketing anyway, like the fundamentals stay, but
Right.
everything pivots, like when I first started, you didn't need to know how to do website design. You didn't even need a website to rank in the pack.
Yeah, it's true.
And so I was like, oh wow, blah blah. I knew HTML, but like who wants to build an HTML website? I don't know.
Ugh.
Anybody who's ever built an
Fringe.
HTML website? Yeah. Anybody who ever has is like, no, Nate's right. No, nobody really wants to build one.
Front page, baby. Front page.
Now with AI, it's not as bad, but
Yeah.
but the point being is it was a real nightmare and a headache back then. So I was like, I don't want to do that. And then
Yep.
it was, over time. Now it's like you have to know how to modify the website. You have to know how to make edits. You have to know things, otherwise you're left behind. And so as you pivot, you're gonna find that maybe you really loved the aspect of your job, but now there's little tedious things that you're like, I don't like that so much. Maybe I should
Yep.
either sub that out or find somebody who can reliably handle that part of it because I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, and even focusing on like, the high ticket type things that you can do within your industry rather than those low ticket type things. Like, so for us, just a little insight into like our business, we did social media for a really long time, and it was something that I hated the most. I quite honestly can't stand being on social media, which is the irony of a digital marketing agency. And it was our lowest producing our profit margins. I was like, why am I doing a service that I quite honestly can't stand? And it is our lowest producing product. And so we had another guy who ended up starting his own business, kind of chasing his dreams. And that's literally all he did. And I was like, look, if that's all you do, I got no interest in doing this anymore. I'll just float you anybody that I have that's looking for it because it's not worth it to me. And if that's what you're doing and I can help you be successful and grow your business, good luck, brother. And that, quite honestly, is as difficult as it might be in kind of a closed minded mindset, turning away clients. It was the biggest blessing because it's allowed me again to focus on more of those high ticket services that we offer to where I let go of something where I'm making way more money because I'm no longer being tied up into these services that one, I don't like, and then two, I'm not making much for them.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And yeah, that's important to keep in mind for sure. Because I've experienced the same thing. You have a service that you offer, and you're like, yeah, it's not. It don't pay nearly as well. For one, for two,
Yep. Yep.
social media is one of mine too. I don't like that to do for clients because it requires a lot of hands-on with the owner
It
because
does.
you're representing the business on
Yeah,
their
you
social
are the
media.
brand for the business.
You are the brand, and so my style of social media probably doesn't fit the mold of most businesses because they're like, wait, we got to look professional, we got to look perfect, we got to look this and this. No, the whole idea of social media is not look like an ad. And that's
Right.
what you want me to build is an ad. And people don't respond well to ads. You actually have to basically use strategies in order to get them
Right.
to interact, to get them to even comment or even to see your post. And you're
Yep.
never going to get it with what they want. And so you're once again, it's like pulling teeth. You're trying to get them to agree to something that they honestly, by the time you're done, are like, I don't even want to do social media.
It's exactly how I got
because
there.
they realize how much they're realizing why you hate it. Like,
Yep.
this is why we don't even want to do it. And it's like, well, you got to do something. Like,
Well, and
but
I love how you bring out your experience because, and this is the proof of like everything's different. Like mine's the exact opposite. I'm too much of a perfectionist and want everything perfect. And I'm like, this is for one stinking post. Unless this thing goes viral, why am I wasting this much time on it? I don't know if it's going to go viral. I spent 10 hours, just kidding, not 10 hours. But I
way
spent
too
10
long.
hours on one post for one client on one social media platform. What's wrong with me?
And I've been there too. I've experienced that same thing as well. And then, but what threw my mind was it was like sometimes we would rush something
Yeah.
and it would perform better than something that we spent 3 hours on.
Oh, that's so true.
And I'm like, so why are we wasting all this time? Like, and why are we thinking that a bad post is the end of the world? Because it's not. Like,
Yeah.
a bad post might be seen by a couple people. Like,
Yeah, true.
and that's what I kind of learned with social media was it's kind of like you just got to churn and burn that, just push through, and then you get better at it. And then before you know it, you start to see patterns. Oh,
Yep.
wow, this one did better. And it was the least refined. It was just, but you start to notice that there's things that you follow just like anything.
Well, and to your point, there's that adage, right? Bad publicity is still publicity. So
To a
you
degree.
put something bad out there, sometimes it might be memorable because you're like, oh man, is that company that put out that bad thing? Hey, guess what? Your brand is still in the back of their mind.
Yeah. Don't worry, you can always rent a friend at the end of the day.
Flown from a jet from the Philippines.
Don't worry. Just one flight away. But yeah, that was one of the most
times.
interesting ones. I've had some interesting ones. I've had some people throughout the time, and I started out so cheap that it doesn't surprise me. But
Oh yeah, I've been there.
but
We all have, I think.
I think, but that was the other lesson I had to learn. But once again, I got more experience doing it that way.
Stepping stones, like we talked about earlier, right?
yeah.
Like they're what got us here today, and hadn't we experienced those then, we probably wouldn't be where we are now.
Exactly, because you got all that experience of, if you take on 100 clients versus somebody who's only taken on a couple, you're clearly
Yep.
going to excel faster than them at some point.
Yep.
Um, and that's same thing with anything. Same thing with like the same thing I mentioned about the social media posts. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. The more video I do, the better I'll get at it. Everything,
Absolutely.
it's just a doing, as you do.
Yep. Action.
Yep, exactly. So I can't remember the quote right off the top of my head here, but it's basically like instead of thinking to do, it's something you just have to do. It's not a think about. You just kind of become. So you can't become without doing.
I think I know the quote. I'm pretty sure it was by a really old wise guy. Don't think, do. Was it Yoda? Yoda?
Yeah. It's Yoda. Exactly. It is a Yoda quote. You nailed it. You nailed it. I don't remember exactly how it goes though, but it is under those premise of you can't think, you can only become. Like you have to do it to become it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's funny. You nailed it.
Good times, man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, as people are trying to go into their journey, the main thing I want people to know is it is possible. It is possible. If I could do it, anyone can do it. I'm talking about somebody at the time when I started following this career path. I was in a very bad place. I was in a very bad relationship. I was being constantly, basically abused verbally, physically. There was a lot going on. I'm also social anxiety. I also have ADHD. I also was sitting in this my house at the time was only like 600 square feet. I'm in this little corner working on a shelf that I built instead of a computer desk. And so if I can make it work in that environment, anybody can make it work. I'm telling you, you can follow your dreams. You can make it work as long as you don't quit. As long as you don't quit. That's the only failure you can do is by quitting. And
Yeah,
so,
I love how you mentioned that because we all started somewhere. Like you're watching this podcast, you're seeing where Nathan and I are at now, right? Like I got this beautiful office space behind me. People walk in here and they're like, "Wow, you got like a podcast studio in here? This is cool." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I also started in a basement in a small little room with one screen and pulling teeth to try to get clients, going door to door, up and down Main Street to every business owner that was in town here." Trying to proposition them with one service, one offer, and I'd be lucky if I came home with one sale. We all started somewhere. And so, yeah, go out there, don't give up. I love that Nathan just emphasized on like the don't give up because that's where a lot of business owners, I think, like they're right at the pinnacle where it's just downhill and they give up right at the top of the hill and they don't get to see the successes of it because they've done and put in the hard work and they tap out too early.
Exactly. No, and that's the framework. It's just like growing a garden or farming or anything like that. If
Working out.
Yeah, you're out there, you're growing the garden, you got it all growing. It's about ready to produce fruit, like it's flowering, and then you're like, oh, this isn't working, this is too hard, and it is hard. Don't mistake anyone saying if anyone tells you it's easy, they're lying because it's hard. It's going to break you mentally. It's going to, it's going to make it hard for you to juggle your personal life and your business life. You're going to feel like everything you touch breaks sometimes. It just will. But if you don't give up and you keep going, you're going to get better. You're going to get better. You're going to get better. And then you'll get over the hill. That's what I call it. The hill. The hill is when you actually are making more money than you did when you had a regular job. Once that happens, no one will ever talk you out of it again because not even yourself. You're going to be like, this is hard, but I make more now than I did at a job. I make more now. and that was the defining moment for me that it was like, okay, this can happen. And then at that point, once you've overcame that mental struggle for me, you can overcome any mental struggle.
Yeah, everything gets easier.
Because now it's like, I know the formula. I just can't quit.
Yeah.
I just cannot quit. And then the other problem, like you said, is understanding what you should quit.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be offerings and things you do that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making zero money on that and it's taking a lot of my time, as to where this other thing takes very little time and I make a lot of money. So trying to figure that out, that was another struggle for me, but way different part of the career path.
Well, and I love you bringing up mental health too, because that is something that's important that like we need to make sure that we are, I guess, addressing is like we all have different struggles and different things. Like I'm a hardcore introvert. before opening my business, I would never get out. I had a very small circle that I would trust and be willing to like go do things with, very much to myself person. I still quite honestly am, but as a business owner, I've had to learn to just be sociable, to go out there. I've had people, that meet me and they find out I'm an introvert and they're like, I'm gonna challenge you on that. Like, there's no way you're an introvert. And I'm like, well, really though, honestly, think about the type of business I'm in. Do you think that I could act like I'd prefer to act and have any clients? I wouldn't have a business if I'd prefer to do what I'd prefer to do. So again, it's getting outside of that comfort zone. It's overcoming those fears, those social anxieties, whatever you might struggle with from a mental state, and making sure that you're keeping your mental state healthy as well. Like, if like not taking time off or not getting away and constantly working all the time. Like, sometimes we turn, say, bad habits into quote unquote good habits. Like, let's just throw this out there and get real vulnerable with things. But like, you have like maybe a pornography issue and you're like, all right, well, I'm just going to work all the time so I'm not tempted with that. You're just exchanging one addiction really for another. And yeah, one is better than the other, but like, really get to the root of the mental health issue of it. Is like, am I just trying to fulfill something that I'm not being intentional about with my own mental health, and making sure that, I'm staying healthy, taking time off, not working yourself to death to where you end up in the hospital and you're like, how did I get here? Well, when's the last time I ever took some time off for my own self, or gone fishing with the family, or this or that, right? And so I think having emphasis, on mental health, because I'm sure Nathan, back in our parents' days and our grandparents' days, like, mental health wasn't a thing. It was
Yeah.
all just buckle up, son.
Rub some dirt on it. Man up.
Yeah,
Walk
exactly.
it off.
Put some dirt on it. Rub it in. You're good. Get up. Let's
Walk it
go.
off. What are you
Walk it off.
You're acting like a sissy, like,
Yep.
just
Yep.
we were actually it's much more complex than that. Not only was it not a thing, if you showed emotion or you did per
Yes.
se, you got treated as if you were a wuss, or you were less than, or you were basically just fragile. And
Yeah.
that,
Yep.
and I think for some people that's a good thing. It may work for them, but there's a lot of people that when you start struggling, like me, I start struggling and I think back and I'm like, well, what would what would people say to me? And it's like, walk it off, or you're fine, or you're making a big deal out of nothing.
Thanks. So helpful.
Yeah, so helpful. And then we wonder why suicide and these things.
Exactly.
What we're seeing nowadays is at the rate we're seeing it because nobody slowed down. And it still is a stigmata of in
Yes.
society of even men. Like, men aren't supposed to cry, even though that we've come a long way and we're starting to address mental health things. Most guys
Right.
are too, I don't want to say proud. We're not proud. We're too beat down to want to reach out for help. Is the
Yeah,
best way to put it.
society has painted a picture of what we're supposed to be.
Yeah. And one half is saying you should be masculine. The other half is saying masculinity is evil, rapist, this and that.
Right.
It's so hard to know what are we supposed to be and what is normal and what isn't. And
Yeah.
Are these thoughts that I'm having normal or not? And that's a tough one to overcome because you're scared. I don't even want to say scared because that's not the word to use, but you
Yeah.
don't want to reach out to people because of shame.
Yeah.
Because you're ashamed. You feel that this is shameful. It's shameful that as a man that I have these emotions and I have these feelings and and you have, and I don't think most people understand, like, because you're also grown, at least from me, it was beat into me that you're the man, you are the caregiver, you're the
Yeah.
provider, you are the one. Like, this is what I was raised and trained to be. So you have everybody else counting on you.
Yeah.
And so if I fell, I let all of them down. And so you're sitting here, you're like, I failed. And it's not
Yeah.
even that you failed yourself, you failed all these people. And it does wear on you. It does. And then you get into a dark place and it's really hard. And, and there's lots of things at least for me, I experienced lots of different ones of emotions.
For sure.
Even just getting out of the struggle itself, when I hit that point, I became very depressed because it was like my whole life, I had to fight. I had to fight to survive.
Yep.
And then when you don't have to fight to survive anymore, you got a lot of time to think.
Yeah. What do I do now?
Yeah, I never, as sad as that sounds, I never stopped to think about what I really wanted in life because I
Yep.
was too busy trying to survive to even stop and have that thought. So when I got there, and being like me to where I don't like to leave the house a lot and social anxiety and things, you get to the point to where it's like, well, now that I don't have to worry about how I'm going to pay for food and pay my bills, what's the point of life? And
Yeah.
that was a depressing moment for me at that time because I'd forgotten who I was and things through crazy relationship and different things. And so I didn't really enjoy a lot of things at that time. And I had to rediscover what I enjoyed, but that's a whole nother topic.
Yep.
But
Been there.
when I did rediscover what I enjoyed, that's what helped my mental health. So they call it self-care for
Yep.
anyone who doesn't
Self-care.
know. You got to do some self-care. It doesn't matter what it is. Like one of my self-cares is going to the barber and I get a straight razor shave. He cleans up everything and we're basically buddies. We chit chat. We have a lot in common. He broke off on his own to start his own barber shop and that was awesome. I got to witness that. The first time I met him, he was at a different shop and they actually shut down like I think I only went to that shop once or twice and he's like, I'm sorry to tell you that you just found me, but we're closing down. And then he started telling me about he's breaking away on his own and da 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 da. And we talked and I gave him some tips and advice. Obviously, I don't, I'm mainly work with attorneys, so it's not like I pitched him or anything. I was just like, hey, here's some things you can do, da 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 da, and now he's really busy and he does really well. So it's cool to see someone start out here and now he's here and in such a short amount of time was really cool to see and experience, even from the outside in, just watching it. I love to see people
I
win
love that.
and that's why I started this podcast. Honestly, I love to see people win. Um, I think the world's a dark place. I
Yeah.
hate to even say that, but I think the world is a dark place, and I try to hold on to every little bit of light that I can see. And that's me. That's why I don't like social. I try to avoid it. And when I know people, once I open up, they're like, Nate, you aren't this. Just like you're saying. Like, how could you say that you aren't a social person when you walk in the room and you're over here, blah, 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 and you're being this crazy guy and people are laughing and it's like, but that's not always, and it depends on where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Like an
Mm-hmm.
example, church for me is not a real safe and great place for me. I still go sometimes. I still enjoy it to a degree and I feel closer to God and things. And I love that aspect of it but the social norms of definitely like LDS church going and dressing up and I understand their philosophy behind it and things but when I show up I feel out of place because I have I've facial hair and that's somewhat looked down upon to a
Interesting. I
degree.
did not know that.
There's certain things that you can and can't do if you have facial hair.
Hmm.
Um, and I always thought that was weird because I'm like, Jesus had facial hair. So, and just to be clear, my mom is very LDS. I have lots of LDS friends. I'm not saying anything bad about the church because I feel they do a lot more good than bad. And I feel that they get a lot of unnecessary hate, but there are bad apples in everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Any kind of organization, you're going to have bad apples. And I think they're the ones that ruin it. Like when I was growing up, I wasn't allowed to play with some of the kids in some of our wards because I drank soda. We're talking Sprite here, not, not, and I didn't understand it then, and I still don't understand it now. But there are some bad apples, and so yeah. But if I'm in a setting that is comfortable to me, let's say if you met me at like a casino, you're probably gonna be like, you are not an introvert.
Yeah.
You conversation with the person next to you. You'll reach out, blah blah blah. But that's my comfort zone. I have to be in an area that is my comfort zone. If it's not, if it's new, I most certainly am going to be quiet. I most certainly am going to come off like I'm angry or something's wrong.
Well, one thing, going back to the whole mental health thing too, that like for me, I think when we get to this point, kind of in what we're discussing is breaking points for us, but understanding, generational curses and things. We were talking about cutting those ties, right?
Yeah.
Like understanding that, things that have happened to you, through the development through childhood, like those things affect you as an adult where you might not understand until you really start deep diving and start looking into those things of like, why am I so introverted and secluded and like don't like to talk to people right away? Is it a trust issue? Like, what is it? And typically, that there's a lot of layers to that. There usually is something that has happened, some bad experience that you attach to something to where you don't like it. You bringing up church, like that's not a safe place. So naturally, your guard's up. You're in a casino where you don't have any ties to anything bad happening. You're like, all right, like I'm safe here until I'm not, right? And so identifying those things, I think, are huge and such a huge important part, again, about, mental health and self-care. Understanding that as a business owner, like that's what gets you through those hard points when you're struggling and you're at that top of that hill, as you put it, like just make it there and then it just gets easier. You'll start learning your own self. And all that stuff ties into business as well.
It does. I noticed that in a lot of things in life. If you really want to succeed at something, you got to have hope and faith. And even those who don't believe in God, you got to have faith in something, because if you're going in alone, it's I can't imagine that I would have made it through what I have without having that faith in God. And I'm
Amen.
not a preacher. I just literally told you my unsafe place is at church. I am the most vulnerable there because I don't know what's normal. I don't do well on social cues. I don't do well on, and I've got, with age, I've discovered a lot of it and learned a lot of it. There's certain things that I know that just naturally I'm very intelligent, and then basic simple life skills I've had to learn
Learn as you
at an
go.
older age. At an older age, let's put it that way. But when I have something in common, I can find the common ground. And my kids even brought that to my attention, because they're like, when I got that photo over here with Rob Schneider and got his autograph or whatever, that was one of the times that my kids said, "You were talking to everybody in the line. How did you? This is not you, Dad. You do not do this. Like, you're very quiet. You are very not social. Like, but when we were waiting in that line, you talked to everyone. Like, how is it you pick and choose? Like, what?" It's like, no. Like, when I have something in common, like they obviously like dumb comedies too. So they have that same personality. Like, of course I can have a conversation. It's like, "Oh, what movie of his do you like the most? What line? What this?" Like, "Oh, they're holding stuff that they're bringing in to have signed." And it's like, "Oh, I love that movie. Oh, that's," and it's when I don't understand something or I don't really know and it's new is the hardest part of
Yeah.
that. But overcoming it, you just got to force yourself to do it. Get up, show up. Mental health is definitely one that I think we all struggle with. And I think that's why it's good to have friends
Yeah.
in the same industries and things, because when you go to someone and you're trying to explain your struggle, someone who works a regular job is not going to understand. They're not going to,
Absolutely.
they're going to downplay your stress. They're going to downplay your worry. They're basically going to make it seem like, once again, what been kind of pounded into us was, "You're being a wuss. Walk it off, rub some dirt in it."
Yeah.
Whatever that is. And you're just overreacting. And in reality, and maybe you are, sometimes we do. But the problem is it's not just this issue. It's this issue. And it's all just piled up. And you get to a point to where you want to give up. And sometimes that's not just giving up on the business. Sometimes that's, some people do things, some drastic things. I've lost people to suicide. It's not a good thing. And sometimes, as their friends or people, we're like, we should have done something different. Maybe had we reached out more. And we all get busy, but check on your friends.
Yeah.
Check on, even if you're just sending a message, "Hey, just thinking of you, make sure you're okay." Or, "Hey, what you up to? Like, you want to hang out, you want to go do something." Like, just, I can't stress that enough, because people on the outside, I can tell you right now, people didn't have any idea what I was going through when I was going through my bad relationship and all that stuff. Not my clients, not my family, to a little bit, but definitely not to the degree that was happening. Heck, I've had a lot of family even recently that said, "I had no idea it was that bad." And I didn't even share the worst. Like, didn't even share the worst. Just bits and pieces. So because of that shame, we hide it. We don't want, it is a shame thing. At least it feels shameful that.
I think there's fear too, though. I think it's not just shame. Like you mentioned, like not scared, and I don't think scared is the right word as much as fear is the right word. Because for me, I felt the exact same way of everything that you're sharing, but mine was fear, not shame. Mine was fear if I brought anything up or said something that this was the result of that. And so I was in constant fear of anything that I did because of the result in which it would produce rather than the shame. I didn't have much of the shame. It was more fear for me. So again, we're all different,
Yeah.
or have different scenarios, but we all still operate the same. And I think that's the important thing, going back to you mentioning, like, making sure that you've got advocates in your corner, friends, people, for one, that even understand, your industry, or, things personally about you, so that they can speak life into you. They can give feedback. They can lift you up when you're down, because, there's going to be times where that's flipped and you're going to be the person that they're looking to
Yeah.
try to overcome whatever they're battling. So I love you kind of bringing that up. It's all
Uh,
relative.
I see the fear too. Like I said, it's a very mixed emotion, and for me, it probably was a lot more emotion because I was physically and mentally being abused, um, and that was shame because and fear because if you mention that to anybody, just society norms, it's like
Yeah.
you're a man, you're
Yeah.
bigger than her. How could you let that happen? Blah blah. Blah. What did you do? Like
Yeah.
because I've heard that to people that I've told my story to. What did you do to have her do that?
Yeah. What did
And
you do to deserve it?
what did you do for her to try to run you over with your car? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, are you kidding me right now? Like,
Yeah.
are you really kidding me? Because sometimes you're just with somebody who's not all mentally well. Sometimes
Right.
those people are just not mentally well, and there's no
Right.
reason. And if there is, we can't relate, don't
Yeah.
understand the reasoning behind it. But yeah, there is a lot of that. And so overcoming those things is one of the hardest obstacles.
Yep.
Definitely don't be so hard on yourself. Even though you do have to have some pressure and you do have to push yourself. That's
Yep.
fact. But beating yourself down ain't gonna get you there any faster. Once again, don't give up.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I can stress that, but don't give up. That's what's kept me going. Everything that I've ever done in my life, I've accomplished because I don't stop, and I won't take that I can't do it as an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's, like you said, we got to just keep pushing ourselves, but in a healthy way, not in a, I'm not saying don't look back and go, I could have done that better, because you need to be able to look back and be able to see how you can improve. But don't look back and go, man, I was such a P,
Yeah.
POS. I wasn't this, I wasn't that. I was, man, I can't do anything right. And because you're going to feel that way. I've felt that way plenty of times. I still
Yep.
sometimes feel that way. Even with everything that I've accomplished, it's easy to forget where you came from. And I know I know anyone that's there and trying to get to a better place, you're going, I'll never forget. I'm telling you, you will. You'll get to a comfortable zone or a comfortable place to where you forget all the previous struggles. It's there, but you're not thinking about it. You're thinking about where you are now. I just want to be to this next stage. And it's like, people, it was only a few years ago you would have killed to be where you are now. So
Yep.
always try to be grateful too. Don't just sit there and be like, oh, I'm not where I wanted to be. I set this goal for 5 years and I'm not there.
Yeah.
Just recognize that you're making improvement. That's all that matters. As long as you're going in the right direction, that's what matters. And if you're not, then you need to figure out why. And you got to figure out how to ask others for help and take advice, because that's another one that I think as entrepreneurs, most of us struggle with, is taking advice. I can't tell you how many times there was lots of people along my journey that gave me good, solid advice, and I thought I knew better.
I know everything, so I mean,
I
I don't
know
know
it.
what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about.
It's like teenagers, I'm gonna tell my daughter, you should get a job now while you know everything, because that'll go away.
Yeah. Second you start one, it doesn't matter what you start.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so yeah, you got to try to. It's a balance. Everything's a balance. Keeping everything in check is important.
Yeah.
Mentally, get get like-minded people around you. If you're hanging around, like one of the advices that was given to me a long, long time ago, and it portrayed my personal life and it portrayed my business life, was if you hang around the trash long enough, you're going to end up smelling. And
That's a good one. I've never
and
heard that one.
and and that stuck with me. It was good, solid advice. And the way he explained it to me was, you could be doing absolutely nothing wrong. You could be doing everything right. But if you're hanging around those who aren't, you're going to be guilty by association at some point, and you won't grow. You'll never grow. You're going to be around them. You're going to end up smelling. You're going to end up becoming what they are. So surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are trying to at least better their lives, because there are some people that are happy and content watching Netflix, working a regular job. And I don't, no shame. If you're happy, that's the most important thing. When I run into somebody that I haven't seen for a long time, one of my questions always is, are you happy? Because
Mm,
I think we always are kind of like, we go to this mindset of, well, how's business? How's the family? How's this? How's that?
mm.
Oh, it was good to see you. We should catch up sometime and bye. Like, but we never, we don't stop to ask, are you happy? Because that's all that matters, in my
No,
opinion.
that's so good. That actually kind of convicted me on, like, I check box all those questions prior, but that's one thing that I honestly don't even know when's the last time I've asked someone, literally, are you happy? And that is such like a poignant question, because all these could be checkboxed. That doesn't equate to, are you happy? You're doing all these things. We're required to do all these things. So I think those are all the questions that we naturally ask. But, like, how are we internally? And then again, going back to the suicide rate of things, like, usually that's a root of none of these check boxes, but that one check box right there.
Yeah. And I think it's important, like I said, because my goals aren't the same as someone else's, and vice versa, all around the world. That's how it is. And sometimes you'll be talking to somebody and like, oh, I got a job wherever, it don't matter. And it sounds, to me, that sounds like the worst job you could ever have in your life. You
Right.
know what I mean? And so as they're explaining it to me, I'm like, oh man, I want to say I'm sorry, but instead of, I refrain and I'm like, well, are you happy? And then they, oh yeah, I'm over the moon. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And you're like, I am so glad I didn't insult this person with that. What came to my mind, because me, like, once again, though, you take these people who jump on stage in front of crowds of hundreds of thousands of people. To me, that would be a torturous hell of an event. I, you know, but to them, that's over the top happiness, wonderful thing. And so you got to be careful too of being observant of those things. And
Totally.
it's good to know, because a lot of people, they have to stop and kind of think about that question sometimes. And that
Yeah.
scares me too, because I'm like, you don't know if you're happy. Oh man. Uh, but yeah, so I just try to be the best I can be. A lot of things that I was advertising, and I still do a little bit, is that I try to help people half of my life. So half of my time I'm focused on my career, my family and things. My other half I'm trying to help people. And
Same.
one of those equations is, can I help?
Yeah.
That's my question. So as I see somebody struggling or something happening, I go, can I help?
Yeah.
They have a flat tire on the side of the road. I got the tools in the back of my car. Can I help? Yes. So I should. That's the
Yeah.
answer. I should. If I can, then I should.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is. It's crazy on how little things can change the course of action, especially
Oh,
suicide.
100. 100.
Because I've been to where I've been in a bad place like that, thinking maybe not to the point that I would actually do it, but it's crossed my mind, and that's scary enough as it is. Um, and just one little act of kindness can change
Mm.
that in people, just letting them know that they're seen, that you're not invisible. I can see you're struggling. I wish there was something I could do to make it better. Here,
Yeah.
have a Gatorade.
Yeah.
And maybe that Gatorade's silly or a piece of gum, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that they know that someone can see that they're struggling, and knows that you care. Sometimes that's all it takes. That's all
Yeah.
that everyone wants, is acknowledgement. Really, we, even as a child, when they come running up to you to show you their paintings or their drawings or whatever it is that they've been working on, they're so proud of it, and they just want you to acknowledge that you're proud too. And
Yep.
I think that's another thing in life, and that's one of the reasons I went into entrepreneurship, was because I want to be present for those moments.
Totally.
And
Well,
those things.
for me too, like, one of the things that, not from like a selfish place, though it may can't come off that way, is like, you reap what you sow. Sow good fruit, you'll reap good fruit. If you're going to sow bad fruit, you're going to reap that bad fruit. So I always think of, like, how would I like someone to do something for me, or returning things and making sure, almost kind of that pay it forward. Like, what can I do to do something good, so that, again, it's going to come back to me. And so I'm always thinking of, like, is that the right thing to do? Because if it's not, guess what? It's going to come back and bite me in the, what? And so being aware of those things, like, are you doing good or are you doing bad? I think having that rationale and something to balance you to where you're constantly cognitive of everything that you do. Am I doing something, pardon me, am I doing something good or am I doing something bad? Am I sowing good fruit? Am I sowing bad fruit? Because everything's going to come back to you sooner or later. And so that kind of gives me a sense of peace of just going out there and trying to do the best that I can.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that too. Yeah, for sure. You got to kind of like, karma, whatever you believe
Yeah.
in. That was kind of the thing with even my horrible relationship and stuff. A lot of people are like, "Well, why aren't you doing this? Why don't you do this? Why don't you even now, like I don't think I've seen a child support check in years. Hasn't
Mm,
been years. They're like, "Why don't you do something about that?" Because I don't need to, for
yeah.
one. If my kids were going without, then yeah, I would have to do something.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's no reason to go, like, if she doesn't want to be active in their lives and doesn't want to pay and doesn't want to do those things, I'm not going to do anything unless I absolutely had to.
Mm,
Um, because there's just no reason. Like anything, like you said, it'll go back. I don't have to do anything.
yeah.
Anything that I would do will never be as bad as what the outcome or what she missed out on or what she doesn't get to be part of because she chooses not to.
Right.
That's the biggest punishment. Nothing that I could ever do. And why do I care? I don't. It doesn't
Yeah.
even really cross my mind other than when somebody's asked. Like I don't care. But yeah, the karma aspect or whatever, like you said, no matter what you want to call it, it's kind of the same thing.
Yep.
And I think that we have a scale. I really do. I view the world as a scale because like a lot of people say, Satan is the prince of this world or whatever you want, however you believe. He definitely has his grips in a lot of people and a lot of things. And there's a lot of things on this earth that makes that very easy.
Hmm.
Drugs and alcohol generally are a good place to start that to get you into some messes. And because of that, I think that there's a scale of how much bad have you done and how much good have you done? Because if you've done more bad, you probably are going to find yourself on a bad end of a stick. And if
Yep.
you've done, so you got to start trying to do more good. And I'm not saying I'm a saint. I've done lots of things that weren't real good throughout my life. But I also wasn't terrible. If you ask my mom, she'd be like, "Wow, he was the best teenager ever." And I was more afraid of disappointing my mom. Single mom raising me, and I saw how many men and things have disappointed her and made her upset and did things that made her life harder. And I didn't want to be one of those. And so if I did something wrong, my biggest thing was like, I don't want my mom to, to know or to basically get upset that, I did
Hmm.
this thing. So if I'm, as a teenager, I did stupid things, but if you got in trouble with the police or something being dumb, I skateboarded a lot. So that sometimes they viewed that as vandalism. Uh, yeah, yeah. So yeah, and some skateboarders, I get it. You were grinding on, the curb or something, and maybe that was damaging it. But
God forbid you do that versus
right, right,
breaking into somebody's home.
right. So the police would come and whatever, and it's like, they're like, I just need you to call your mom and tell her what you did, and it's like, I don't even want to call. I'll just stay here. How about I just stay here forever because I would rather not call my mom and make her upset. And they're like, are you afraid she's gonna get, you're gonna get this huge punishment? No, that's not what I'm afraid of at all. I don't want to see my mom cry. I don't want my mom to be upset,
Hmm.
especially over me skateboarding. Like, let's just be real here. Skateboarding isn't a crime, at least it shouldn't be. And then
Shouldn't be.
the police will be like, oh, depending on what you do with it, anything could be a crime. But did you see me breaking windows? Did you see me doing anything that could even be related to a crime? And we're talking, 20 years ago, Utah.
Yeah.
So, it was like the cops had way too much time on their hands because we literally, we didn't have murder. We didn't have, and if we did, it was so rare that, it was national news.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, but no, I didn't want to make her upset or do those things. But the point is you get to a point in your life, usually in your older age, from what I'm experiencing personally, is you want to be a better person.
Yeah.
You realize that if we all cared a little bit more, the world would be a better place. And even the people that are struggling, a lot of people that commit crimes, I think it's a crime of desperation. They don't know what else to do. Usually it involves money. It's a
Yep.
sad scenario that people they experience that. It's sad. It's kind of a crazy life out there.
Yeah.
And that's why I want people to know that no matter who you are or where you are, you can do this. I know you can do it. If you believe in it, you can make it happen. And that's the truth. It's not going to happen tomorrow or everybody would be doing it, you know? That's, we'd all be like, why would you ever do that? Just tomorrow you'd have your own thing going and you're doing wonderful and everything's great.
Are you trying to say like these gurus with Lambos and stuff? That's not norm.
Yeah, yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
On next episode of
I have met some that were legit, and then I've met the ones that are like, they went down and they rented the Lambo.
You're right, just for the commercial.
Right. And then you got the AI ones now, the ones that use AI. It's like, if you only knew how silly you made yourself look, like instead of just being real.
Serious.
I'm not, that's my most important thing with being a better person is being real.
Yeah.
And being real. I'm not rich. I live in a decent home, but it feels like I'm living in the 60s or 70s because it's really outdated. And I'm a renter. Like, so I can't really change that it's this.
Guilty.
Yeah, got a 60 or 70, it's it was 1960s, 70s. It's got the curtains, the original carpet. Like, you're talking some weird. So it may not look like I'm doing great in that aspect, and then I don't drive a brand new fancy car, I just bought a car of my own because my fiance, she has her own car and we were just using it as the car. I don't need to really go anywhere. I already told you I don't like to leave my house.
Like I never leave my house.
Yeah, I don't even want to leave anyway. Why would I care? But I did just buy another car. It's not brand new. It was from an individual. I was fortunate enough to be able to pay cash for it, which was awesome. The first car I've ever bought with cash, just straight up being like, outright. So that was a huge accomplishment for me. And one day maybe I'll be able to buy a house with cash. That's kind of one of my goals. And so I hope that I will get there but we're never promised tomorrow. So I don't really know. That's the only thing that will be standing in my way. It won't be because I quit. I want to make that clear.
Well, not intentionally.
Right. Not intentionally. Right. Exactly. But I want to make that clear when I said if or whatever, when one day I hope to buy with cash, it won't be because I quit.
Yeah.
Because that's the distinction. But now I'm rambling, which is what I start to do. So I got to stop. And usually this is when I let you go ahead, talk about your business again. If anyone's looking for it, where you service, who you service, all those informations. If you're gonna fly out on a flight over to meet them, and
anybody looking for a date, I do fly anywhere for the right price.
Yeah. If the money's good enough, anything. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, on that note, I do try to stay as localized as possible. I am like Nathan. I do not like leaving my valley at most. Getting me outside of my office, for one, is a feat to local mixers and things of that nature. So to get me to Salt Lake or anywhere else, I'd rather not. Definitely prefer jumping on a Zoom call. Have a lot of clients where our relationship is strictly through video chat. Some I don't even think have even met me in person or on camera, so just through the phone and stuff. But again, reputation is what has made that connection. So our focus as an agency, and this is what I've always said, here at Hooked It Up, our focus is on the Heber Valley and the Wasatch back abroad, Park City, Heber Valley. And as long as our particular Wasatch back can continue to support me, I will continue to support them. So all of my marketing, everything goes towards literally focusing on our particular area because I want to give back to my community as they continue to keep me in business. So that's not to say that I don't take clients from anywhere else. I've got clients all over the world. But as far as my focus is local, because a lot of people want to meet you in person and different things, and I'm not driving even to Salt Lake in most cases. So that's what. Pardon me. That's what we focus on. I'm kind of coming down with a little something in the throat, I can tell.
Okay. It was nice to meet you. If you'll stick around for a minute, I'm going to end the recording, and then I'm just going to tell you kind of what goes on after this point.
Sweet. Sounds good.
So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Take your time, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.